Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Our first story is about a manager that learned how to be a manager from TV and movies. And this is not how you effectively manage people. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. The badge policy must be followed. I work for a small account at a global company. Most of the employees at this site were hourly, with around 10 non-managerial salaried people working for this account, with me being one of the few who worked on site. I'm the head technical employee. On this day, I'd forgotten my badge at home. The process to receive a temporary badge was to have either your manager or one of the other managers come to the front lobby to sign you in. No big deal. I got the luck of having the one stupid manager come to sign me in. She was also the same manager who signed me in earlier that month. You're aware of the policy for habitually forgetting your ID badge? Sorry, no, I've not been informed of any policy regarding this. All the managers sent the policy out to everyone via email. You were to sign that you read and understood the policy. My manager works off-site, as do most of us who report to her. She probably didn't see the need to send it to the few of us who do work on site. Are you saying you never received the policy email? Positive. You can verify this with her. I'm certain I've not received any emails on any such policy. Since this is your second offense this month, I'm supposed to send you home and not allow you to work today. Really? Well, I can see how that would be a deterrent for the employees. This has become a habit for you. In the past 15 years that I've worked on this account, I've forgotten my badge 3 times. Once around 7 years ago, the other time this same month. That's a trend. If you'd rather send me home and not have me work today, that's your right. That's what you agreed to in the policy. Again, I never received any such policy, and I believe everyone has to sign a receipt saying they've read the policy and will follow it. If you check with my manager or any on-site manager who might be in control of such a thing for my area, I've not signed any such document. But if that's the policy, I'll head home then. I notified my manager, they were on vacation, and team via email that I was sent home by said manager that day for failing to have a badge for the second time this month, and by the directive I would not be logging into work, answering emails, attend any meetings, nor address any non-production issue. Please reschedule any meetings with me. I know for hourly folk that's a huge deal. A day's pay is a harsh punishment, but for us salaried folk, I get paid if I work or not. A nice relaxing day. Fun fact, never had to deal with that again. Later that quarter, HR struck down this local policy as it was against corporate policy. And our second story. My entitled sister wants to steal our deceased grandma's apartment. My sister, mid-30s, is probably the worst case of entitled I've ever seen. She's always the victim, can do no wrong, and the world owes her for her imaginary suffering. This time, however, she's reached a new effing level. She recently confessed to our mom that she started dating someone behind her husband's back. And to be honest, her husband's also a ginormous dirtbag. But just leave the guy, okay? I don't think anyone deserves to be cheated on, and even though he totally effing sucks, an affair doesn't constitute as some kind of punishment. It's messy, gross, and just not worth it. Save everyone the extra heartache. Now, our grandma passed away at the end of August. It hasn't even been a month since she passed, and since she was terminally ill, we did have time to discuss some things and make arrangements for others. She lived in an apartment that's attached to our mom's house, and we had talked about me moving into it after grandma passed, and everyone thought it was a good idea because my grandma had things like no-slip railings, kitchen tools and gadgets for arthritic hands, etc., and I'm also disabled and could benefit from the same equipment. Come to find out, my dip-crap sister thinks it'd be a cool idea to have her marital affair move into our mom's property instead, so she can use our mom as some kind of cover for her affair, and I'm absolutely repulsed and livid. We were all just starting to let my sister come around again because after Grandma passed, it seems like it had really affected her, and she was really turning over a new leaf, but it's all because she wants her boyfriend to move in. I don't think anyone's going to fly with the idea. I just can't believe that she even thought it would be a viable option and something that she could even suggest to us. Why does she just assume that we'll help her cheat on her husband? I want no part of it. I will not be an accomplice. Also, her justification for suggesting he move in is because OP doesn't seem to be in much of a rush to get up there. Like, yeah, I found our grandma, deceased, less than a month ago. Sorry I haven't been in a hurry to erase grandma from her home. Sorry I haven't been sorting through all of her belongings and getting them ready to be rehomed or donated. I wish I could keep every trace of her, and the fact that I have to get rid of anything at all hurts. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry I haven't done it yet, but maybe try having a little effing empathy. My family and I have begun going through Grandma's belongings, and it's definitely been bittersweet because it hurts to see her things go and her existence dissipate even more. But we've also found so many family photos and keepsakes and overall good memories. I even found a box that belonged to my great-grandpa, and it had his pocket watch and a locket with a photo of my great-grandma in it. My sister did manage to bully her way into the apartment for a few hours so she could pick out what keepsake she wanted, but joke's on her because I hid all the things Grandma wouldn't have wanted her to take. She walked away with not much more than a decorative bowl. She's starting to drop the narrative that her boyfriend can move into the apartment now that she sees we're serious about me being the new tenant, but she did make some little comments that let me know that it's not forgotten. She can plot all she wants, though, because we're installing a security system and changing locks, so if she thinks she can sneak in or try to get her hands on anything else, she's sadly mistaken. I've decided that I'm kicking my sister out of my life again. Each time I think she's capable of changing, she shows that she's the same horrible, selfish person, and I'm done falling for the charade. Have fun with the inevitable divorce proceedings. Good luck explaining all this bullcrap to your kids, too. What do you want to bet that the other guy is one of those who doesn't want to work and would expect to live rent-free and have everything done for him, too? Won't be taught by a girl, so he got fired. I was 17, freshly graduated from high school, and had moved from the Midwest to Texas to live with my grandparents and work on the oil farm they worked for doing some easy data entry. The building was essentially a 10 building on the job site where my grandma and I worked, the only two office workers besides my grandfather, who was the foreman. Basically, when the new hires would come in that had missed the initial hiring round, I was the one that would make sure all their paperwork was in order and they had all of their OSHA classes finished, and if any safety training hadn't been done, I'd just put in the VHS and confirm on a written copy that they'd finished it under my instruction. This went on for 2 months with no issue until one fateful day, a regular Florida man, record and all, came in as a new hire and came to my office to finish his new hire paperwork. Once he was in my office, I found he had no safety training to speak of, and I informed him his next day or two would be spent in my office watching safety videos. All this was paid, of course. He immediately flew into a rage, screaming about how he wouldn't have some little girl teaching him how to do his job, which again, I was a 17-year-old female at the time, I now identify as non-binary, and was only going through company standards and OSHA rules with him. I went to my grandfather, who was my boss at the time, obviously very confused and uncomfortable and unsure of how I should proceed, to which my grandfather said, "You want to fire him?" Cue my excitement. My grandfather follows me to my office, and I, as a 17-year-old, get to fire this grown man sitting in front of me. I start directing him to gather his things and leave, and he starts up a huge fit, yelling and cursing at me before he noticed my grandfather standing in the door with his gun holstered on his hip. My grandfather usually kept this locked in a safe on the ground or in his truck. I hadn't realized until after he'd pulled it out just for me, and very quietly, then he got up and left. The most satisfying moment of my life. And our last story. If I annoy you so much, then you should find another shop to work in. Sounds great. So I've worked in a small barber shop for a year and 3 months now. When I was hired, I was not informed of the previous working conditions I'd be filling in for. My boss/shop owner, female 62, neglected to inform me that her previous staff had some issues. A schizophrenic, a gold-digging woman who called everyone baby, and a former mayor who was beat half to death for sleeping with another man's wife. She also had this horrendous tendency of complaining about everything at work. Some days it was her grandkid, other days it was how her boyfriend wouldn't propose, but when he did, she just wasn't good at commitment. Some days, however, she was extremely laid back and tolerable. I weathered through the rough patches of slow days and her bad attitudes, attempted to discuss her issues in healthy ways so she wouldn't share them with clients. I even opened and closed the shop and covered for her when she decided to take random vacations. Eventually, things began to settle, until about a year into working there. She became sporadic and impulsive, much more than usual to say the least. She'd fly into bouts of anger and throw tantrums about clients for no reason. She decided to break it off with her boyfriend for not building her a lake house. She hired a new barber despite us not needing one. She began dodging haircuts she didn't like and more. Yet the final straw that broke the horse's back was definitely when she tried to sell the shop out from under us without telling us. The issue here is that she was telling clients but not her employees. The new barber was freaking out. Clients had begun leaving. This was an issue I could not overlook. So as shop manager, I took it upon myself to finally confront her when we were alone in the shop. I asked what her plans were and that we just needed to know for communication's sake, at least so we could plan appropriately, with which I was only told, "Don't worry, I have a plan, you guys can still work here." That wasn't an answer for me though, so I responded with, "All right, as long as you have a plan and can communicate it with us, then I'm fine with that." Later that night, she texted me the following: "We will no longer be discussing my business. If I mention it to my customers, that's my business. When it has to do with you, I'll let you know in plenty of time. Please keep your opinions to yourself. I'm not mad. This is just simply my business, and I would appreciate it if we kept it that way. If you don't like the way I run my business, and if I get on your nerves so bad, you should not be working here. From this day forward, I will do things my way without any input. Thanks." So in short, I told her thanks for an answer, and I'll see her in the morning. The next morning, I opened the shop as usual and didn't say a single thing to her for the entire day. Halfway through, the new girl came up and told me that my boss and I had been kissing her butt all morning, and I was giving her the silent treatment. My boss was acting shady because she knew I was up to something, so she left early that day in order to prevent a confrontation. I helped the new girl finish the day out, then I packed all my stuff in my car and left her a letter of resignation. I then texted her to say, "I've left my letter of resignation on your register. I appreciate the opportunity to work and gained clients. From now on, I'll be doing things my way without any input. Good luck in whatever you do, and please do not contact me." Since then, I've been offered jobs by 3 different shops and have had clients from her shop contact me saying my boss doesn't understand why I left and has shut the shop down randomly. The new girl said my boss was in total shock over me leaving. With all the characters, it sounds like that could be a sitcom. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.